Do you have 500 rupees? I need it urgently.
Sure, I'll UPI it to you.
Thank you.
And the money reaches within 3 seconds. Lesser than the Maggie cooking time. No banks, no waiting lines, and no forms. With this, have you ever wondered how this happens? Who confirms the payments? Who checks the balances? And who checks the money? Because behind that tiny payment successful message, there is a massive digital ecosystem working silently. Let's break down the UPI ecosystem in India. The UPI ecosystem has 5 main players. First is the user, that's you, me, and everyone else. When the center sends money through Google Pay, Phone Pay, and Paytm, you are the initiator of the transaction. Second comes the UPI apps. These apps are just interfaces. They don't actually move the money. They just send a request to the banking system. Consider them as a remote control for a transaction. Third comes the sender's bank. They check, do you actually have the money? If yes, they approve the transaction. Fourth, the receiver's bank. This bank accepts the payment and credits the amount into the bank. Fifth, NPCI, the brain of UPI. It sits in the middle of the transactions. Consider it as a traffic controller for your transactions. In this, the NPCI directs the transaction between banks and confirms the payment. Without NPCI, the system would crash badly. 3 reasons that makes UPI powerful. First, instant settlement. In this, your money moves from banks to banks securely. Second, secure authentication. UPI PIN makes sure that you are the only one enabling your password into the UPI app. Third, compatibility. In this, you can transfer your money from Google Pay to also Phone Pay. And there are no restrictions as well. Running UPI is not about just the technology. It is about thousands of banks, apps, servers, and regulators coming together to make it a huge project management success. With this, to ensure zero downtime, instant payments, secure infrastructure, and nationwide scalability. Managing such a system requires perfect coordination, just like managing a mega project. The UPI ecosystem is still evolving. Soon, you might be able to pay internationally through UPI, use UPI in other countries, and use voice or AI to direct your UPI payments. When this happens, you might be able to see a bigger and smarter UPI ecosystem.
So after understanding the UPI ecosystem, it is important to know the organization that makes this entire system function smoothly. That is National Payment Corporation of India. NPCI was established in 2008 by the Reserve Bank of India and the Indian Banks Association to build a unified and efficient payment infrastructure for India. Before the NPCI, digital payments were available, but they were not simple for daily use. Bank transfers required account numbers, IFSC codes, and detailed banking information, making transaction time-consuming and less convenient for ordinary users. NPCI solved this by creating platforms that connect banks and enable fast digital transactions. Its most important contribution is Unified Payment Interface, that is UPI, which allows instant money transfer between bank accounts using a mobile phone QR code or UPI IDs that we all know. Apart from UPI, NPCI also developed immediate payment services which supports immediate fund transfer and RuPay, India's domestic card payment network. A key role of NPCI is acting as a central switch between banks. Whenever a UPI payment is made, the request goes from the sender's app to the sender's bank, then through NPCI and finally to the receiver's bank. NPCI ensures that this happens instantly and accurately. NPCI also enables interoperability, meaning different banks and payments apps can work together on one common platform. This is why a person using one bank can easily transfer money to another person using a different bank. Security is another major responsibility of NPCI. It uses encrypted systems, authentication layers, and transaction monitoring to keep digital payments safe and secure. Because of this infrastructure, digital payments have reached beyond urban areas and are now widely used by small businesses, local vendors, and everyday consumers across India. This strong institutional support from NPCI has created the foundation for the large-scale transformation of digital payments that we see today.
Imagine buying 26 रुपए की चाय and paying instantly using just your phone. No cash, no card machine. Just a quick scan and payment is done in seconds. Today, this feels completely normal in India. But just 10 years ago, this kind of payment was almost impossible. So what changed? This is the story of how UPI transformed digital payments in India. Before 2016, India was largely a cash-based economy. Digital payments existed, but they were complicated. People used systems like NEFT, RTGS, and IMPS to transfer money. But these methods had several problems. They required full bank details like account number and IFSC code. Some were slow or limited to certain hours. They were not suitable for small everyday transactions. They were also digital payments like Paytm and MobiKwik. But money stored in wallets often could not easily move to bank accounts, and apps were not interoperable. Because of these limitations, over 95% of transactions were done still using cash. In October 2016, India had only 79.6 crore digital transactions for the entire month. Clearly, digital payments needed a breakthrough. The transformation began in 2016 when three major events changed the payment landscape. First was the launch of UPI. In August 2016, UPI was launched by NPCI. It introduced a simple innovation called a virtual payment address, like an email for money. Instead of sharing bank details, users could simply send money using a UPI ID or phone number. Payments became instant, available 24/7, and interoperable across banks and apps. It was also free for users. Second was Jio Internet Revolution. In September 2016, Reliance Jio launched affordable 4G internet, making smartphones and data accessible to millions of people. Third was demonetization. On November 8, 2016, 500 and 1000 rupee notes were banned, removing 86% of cash from circulation overnight. This forced millions of people to try digital payments for the first time. Together, these three events created the perfect environment for digital payments to grow. The growth of UPI after 2016 had been extraordinary. In the first month, UPI processed just 93,000 transactions, but by 2025, annual transactions reached 228 billion. And in January 2026 alone, UPI processed about 21.7 billion transactions worth 28 lakh crore. That means India now processes nearly 700 million UPI payments every day. Today, UPI accounts for about 85% of digital payments in India. Several factors helped UPI grow rapidly. Internet penetration increased from 26% in 2016 to 70% by 2025, with more than 750 million smartphone users. Another game changer was a QR code payment system. Small merchants no longer needed expensive card machines. They could simply print a QR code and start accepting payments instantly. Today, India has over 678 million active QR codes. Nearly 79% of UPI transactions happen through QR codes. In 2020, the government introduced zero merchant discount rate, meaning merchants pay no fees to accept UPI payments. This made UPI extremely attractive for small businesses. UPI had transformed everyday transactions across India. Today, people use UPI to pay street vendors and chai stalls, pay auto rickshaw drivers, buy groceries, split restaurant bills, pay utility bills instantly. Even rural India has adopted digital payments rapidly. In fact, studies show that 86.7% of rural youth now use UPI, even higher than urban youth. More than 65 million merchants and 491 million users are part of the UPI ecosystem today. UPI has also played a major role in financial inclusion. Combined with initiatives like Jan Dhan bank accounts, Aadhaar, and mobile connectivity, digital payments have brought millions of people into the formal financial system. India now processes about 46% of the world's digital payments, making it a global leader in digital finance. The success of UPI shows how technology, policy, and consumer behavior can transform an entire economy. And the journey is far from over. With global expansion and continuous innovation, UPI may soon become a global model for digital payments.
So far, we have seen how UPI transformed digital payments in India. But beyond the growth numbers, it's important to ask a deeper question. What impact UPI has on consumer behavior, financial systems, and risk of digital payments? One interesting impact of digital payments is psychological. When we pay with cash, we physically see money leaving our hands. Economists call this pain of paying. But with UPI, payments happen with just a quick scan and a PIN. Because we don't see any actual money going out of our hands, transactions feel less painful. This often leads to higher spending, more impulse purchases, and smaller payments, like 10 रुपए का चाय, 20 रुपए का snacks, or 50 रुपए का auto ride. Now, this happens instantly through QR codes. As a result, digital payments have made spending more frequent and frictionless. Beyond consumer behavior, UPI has also transformed India's economic system. One major impact is financial inclusion. Today, hundreds of millions of individuals and millions of merchants use UPI. Small businesses once relied on cash, like street vendors, auto drivers, kirana stores, can now accept digital payments instantly. UPI also reduced transaction costs. Unlike card payments that charge merchants a fee, UPI transactions for merchants are largely zero cost, making adoption easy even for smallest of businesses. This has effectively digitalized a large part of India's informal economy. However, rapid digital adoption also brings new risks. As UPI usage has increased, so have digital payment frauds and cybercrime cases. Common cases include fake payment requests, phishing links, QR code frauds, or social engineering scams. For example, in a collect request scam, fraudsters send a payment request that looks like incoming money, but when users enter their UPI PIN, they actually send money instead of receiving it. These risks highlight the importance of digital literacy and cybersecurity awareness. Looking ahead, UPI is expected to expand even further. First, UPI is becoming global. India has already started integrating UPI payment systems in countries like Singapore and enabling UPI payments for tourist places like France at locations such as Eiffel Tower. Second, new innovations like credit on UPI allows users to make payments directly using credit cards or through QR codes. Third, technologies like offline UPI payments aim to bring digital payments even to areas with limited internet access. Together, these innovations could make UPI not just a payment system but a global financial infrastructure. In less than a decade, UPI has completely transformed how India pays, spends, and does business. From street vendors to global payments, UPI has evolved from a simple payment tool into one of the most powerful examples of digital public infrastructures in the world.